Suave.
I've been in my bag for a while, I'm invincible. Story of a young boss, grinding shit get critical. Calling on my bros one time, cause you special. I had some hoop dreams of right rounds for my mentor. Every target that I shoot is on point like a pencil. Different road, changed relationships, I'm so sorry. Came up from the trenches and I made it, I say hardly. Now
The last of the major pro sports leagues kicks off this week, and BetOnline is your top spot for all your NBA action this season. With MLB postseason, NFL, and college football, and NHL in full swing, BetOnline is your number one source for wagering, news, odds, trends, and predictions. Get everything NBA at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access for every sport anytime. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. All righty, guys, we are back with another episode of the What's in Your Bag podcast presented by Bet Online. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Robinson, and today we are joined by a special guest. But, before we introduce our guest, man, we got to get the business out of the way. Y'all already know what's coming, man. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and stop what you're doing, man. Tap that subscribe button. It goes a long way. Give us a thumbs up, man. You know what I'm saying? We got a bunch of dope guests, dope conversations going down on the What's in Your Bag podcast, man. So go ahead and show us some love. If you listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, give us some feedback, drop a comment, man. It goes a long way, man, and spreading the word about the good gospel over here at the What's in Your Bag podcast. That was my guy, Pull Up Tay. On the intro, he's one of the hottest up-and-coming artists out of the DMV. Make sure y'all stream his music, man. He's going up, man. Show my boy some love, man. But now that we got the business out of the way, man, this is an interview that we've been trying to get done for a little while now, man. You know,
Man.
when you're a busy man, when you're doing important stuff, man, sometimes you gotta make it work, man. So we are pleased to be joined by my guy, Sunny Piplani. Sunny handles everything NBA players, off the court, management, just a dot connector. So my guy, man, thanks for coming on today.
Appreciate you having me, bro. And I know, like you said, we've been working on trying to make this happen for a little bit, but I know the playoffs hit and everything. So, and also first and foremost, congrats on your new job, bro. That's a big thing, right? New beginnings.
Yes, sir. Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. So that's love for sure, man. Me and my guy had a chance to link up in person a couple of weeks back, man. I didn't know my guy was a DMV resident, man. So before we get started, man, just talk about just your time in the DMV, man. I feel like a lot of folks on here, man, everybody knows about the LAs and the New Yorks, obviously the Miamis, man. But the DMV is a great place to live, man. I feel like it's under the radar, man. So just talk about your time spent here so far.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, DMV might be top 2, top 3. It's so underrated, bro. Like I try to tell people all the time, like I've lived in New York, obviously I spent a lot of time in Miami. I've been to LA a bunch. Like people sleep on the DMV, bro. It has everything. Food, crazy. The vibes, crazy. DC summer, undefeated. It's just like the people are great, the weather's straight. Like you want to shoot up to New York, it's in the middle of everything. You want to shoot down to Florida, you kind of in the middle of everything. You got 3 airports. So like flying is cheap. You got the Amtrak, like you can drive anywhere. Like it's just you got everything you need down in the DMV. It's funny too, bro, because I know we talked about this at breakfast. Like when I first was thinking about moving to the DMV, I was hurt. Like I didn't want to move here. I was like, yo, it's gonna be politics. It's just gonna be this. It wasn't everything that I imagined myself doing. And 2.5, 3 years later, I'm like, yo, I don't want to leave. I love this place. It's dope. It's dope.
Facts, man. I think what you said is facts, man. Like I feel like it's super underrated. I think when people get here though, I feel like it's like, especially for young people around our age, it's always something to do, man. So much networking. You can connect with so many people down here, man. It's like, I think that's my favorite part, man. Like meeting young people.
A little bit too much sometimes.
Facts, man. Facts. Like meeting young people our age that are like doing stuff, man. Whether you're like, Howard Law School or working on Capitol Hill or in some type of business, it's like, damn, like people really young getting their shit off, man. It's dope to see.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, bro. Like this weekend is Howard homecoming weekend. You know what I mean? Like, so we was out a little bit yesterday for one of my friends' birthdays, and it's like there's always something to do. It's Howard homecoming weekend. One weekend is, it could be anything. CBC the other weekend. You know what I mean? So like, there's always some tech week the other week. So like, there's always something, bro.
No, facts. And we're obviously gonna get into your journey, man, and the work that you do. But so in working with a bunch of guys, right? I mean, I know you do work with, Udonis Haslem, Li Ning, you work with Dwade, a bunch of guys, man. I feel like the NBA season is getting ready to get started now, right? And I'm always curious because whenever I have these type of podcasts with people who are like on the business side, I was asking, man, like, yo, how's your summer, man? Like, the off season. And they're like, to be honest, the summer is more busy than the season. Like, it's worse, like, as far as running around. So, how was your summer, man? What would you kind of get into? And obviously, you were shaking your head, man. So I know you probably agree with the fact that the summer is a lot busier than the regular NBA season.
Yeah, no, it was. I'd say it was crazy, but it was also a blessing, right? Like it was funny. I was telling my boy last night, this is the first time I've probably been in DC for like 2.5, 3 weeks straight in the past probably like 6 to 8 months. Like, because I mean, and when I say it was a blessing, right? Obviously we can get into it, but with the Heat, like we made it to the finals. You know what I'm saying? So I got to be in the finals, and that went in through the summer. Had a bunch of travel and other stuff to do, in the summer. So, it was a blessing. I got to travel a lot, but it was tiring for sure. I've spent, like I said, 2.5, 3 weeks in DC in my bed, and it's like the first time that really been able to do that and like plan my life out. Because usually the way I live is like, what are you doing next week, bro? I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, so I can't tell you what I'm doing next week.
Right.
So.
Man, that's tough, man. I definitely want to ask a follow up on that later on, man. What would you say was the highlight of your summer if you had to choose one thing that you did?
I mean, finals, man. I mean, that was early in the summer, but like, as a kid, bro, like, we all dream of like, and I know you had Trey on this podcast too, and he told you as well, right? Like, there's certain things that you like, you have on your bucket list. Like even as a not like as a hooper, even like as a hooper, not playing in the final, just being in the atmosphere, being, like the stuff that we got to experience, being on the court around the guys, just the atmosphere of everything. Like it's crazy. Like it was a blessing. Like I kept having to pinch myself. So I know it was early in the summer, but I had to say the NBA Finals, man. That shit, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. So I kind of want to change gears a bit and get into your individual journey, man, because I feel like obviously now you're in the business side of basketball, and you're into the management side, but you were the hooper, at first. So talk about just your introduction to the game. Talk about like kind of obviously you're from overseas, man. So talk about just your intro into basketball, kind of how you got introduced to the game, and just coming up, how you first were able to kind of fall in love with this sport that we're all working in now.
Yeah, it's funny, man. So obviously, I'm from Singapore, and like out in Asia, the first sport is soccer. Like everyone, football. We call it football, right? Where I'm from, like that's a religion. Like everyone grows up playing that. So that's really all I played. Soccer was like football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, was like my bread and butter. Like that's all we did. And then I had a coach probably like I've always been tall, but I really grew tall between like the 4th and 5th grade, I want to say. Like, and then like by the 6th grade, I was like, they were like, yo, you tall as hell. And I had a coach, and he was just like, yo, come. Like I used to mess around with basketball. Like we used to play during lunch, like, dinner and stuff like around that time. But soccer was just like, I took all my time, all my love. And then one of my coaches was like, yo, come to this little event that I do. And then in the ending, he always does a shooting competition, and you can win money. And I went to that and I won money, and I was like, oh, I can win money doing this, I'm in. So then I started playing basketball, bro, and like I fell in love with it, from the moment. And like it's funny because as much as I love soccer, I realized how slow of a sport it can be. And I was a goalie on a really good team, and when you're a goalie, like you don't really get much. If you're on a good team, you're kind of just standing there, and it's outdoors. Like I just kind of started to get bored. And basketball was so fast paced, loved it, and had a lot of great success early on. So I just loved it, bro. And like, growing up in Singapore, the problem with basketball is like, it's not like, as soccer is a religion, a lot of other things, ping pong, badminton, stuff like that is my main focus. Basketball is kind of just like an afterthought. So, by the time I got to high school, I was like, yo, I need to move to the US in order to, have play. Obviously, every hooper has a dream of playing the NBA. I was like, I have to move to the US, one, play college basketball, and two, hopefully one day make it to the NBA. So, that was kind of my early journey of just, loving the game of basketball, in Singapore.
Yeah. Now, we talked about this at breakfast, man, and I can't wait for you to kind of tell this story to the people, man, because you have one of the craziest stories as far as your kind of transition into the business side of basketball, right? And how that all came about, man. So can you just talk about how you were able to go from playing basketball, that game that you were able to fall in love with back in Singapore, to then making that transition into the business side? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, with the overall journey, right? Like, so my freshman year, I moved out to North Carolina. My dad's a professor. We took a sabbatical, played for Garner Road. That's always going to be my people. You know about them.
Yes, sir. We played against them in AAU, man, back in the day. Good bump. Legendary.
Forever, man. They gave me an opportunity I'll never forget. And I always have love for those people over there. And so, I lived in Raleigh my freshman year. My parents were kind of like, yo, like, let's give this a shot. If it really works out, you can stay, you can go to prep school. And if not, you come back home with us. Ended up working out, had a lot of good college interests. I like, obviously, like, it worked out. So my parents went home. I went to prep school, went to Lawrenceville for 2 years in Jersey, went to Choat in Connecticut for 2 years, and then graduated, played basketball at Bates up in, D3 school up in Maine. And through that, I know we talked about this at breakfast, like, just the connections and the people, like, the game of basketball. Obviously, we didn't make it to the NBA, right? But it's given us a journey and the people that we've been able to meet, and also just like the things that we've been able to do because of this orange basketball. And so part of that is, when I transferred to Choate, I was like hurt because, I hurt my knee. I left the school that I really loved, the people that I really loved, and I transferred, I reclassed, and like, I was like, damn, what am I doing here for my first year, my junior year, but my reclass junior year. But then I met this kid, Michael Lee. Never forget this kid, man. Shout out to Michael. I thought he was a shoe plug at first. Funny story, I tell us all the time. I thought he was a shoe plug. He had these Li Ning basketball shoes, and I'm sitting here like, how the hell does this kid? I'm from Singapore. I can't even get these shoes. And I was like, yo, what's up, bro? Like, how do you get those shoes, whatever? Like, and he was like, do you want them? What's your size? I got you. Next, me and my roommate, 2 days later, got some Li Ning basketball shoes that I've been working for 4 or 5 years to try to get, just in 2 days there. And at the next year, same thing. He hit me and was like, yo, like, do you want the newest pair? Yeah, got you. And like, I'm sitting there my senior year, I'm like, yo, who are you, bro? And he's like, yeah, Li Ning? That's my dad. And I was like, oh, like, how crazy is that, bro? Like, and that's just, the blessing, just getting to meet this dude. We're good friends to this day. And, that really kickstarted everything for me, and when I went into my freshman year of college, and he called me and was like, yo, would love for you to come out to Li Ning and just, do an internship. And at first I was kind of hesitant because I'm sitting here like, like if I'm going overseas, like I barely get to go home. You know how it is, bro, playing college basketball, just basketball in general. Like our season is in the winter. Never really got to go home. Singapore's on the other side of the country, or other side of the world, sorry. So like I was like, if I'm gonna spend my summer traveling to that side of the world, I'm going home. And he's like, bro, like trust me, like we'll take care of it. Like you like come out here and you have a great time. I was like, you know what? Like, and I went into my freshman year thinking, I in the back of my mind, I was always like, I want to be an agent, or I want to kind of be in this basketball business world because we all have that moment where we realize we're not making it to the NBA. Right. And so I was like, if I'm not gonna make it to the NBA, at least let me at least let me work in the game. Like I love business, I love sports. How can I combine the two? I had it in the back of my mind, but I didn't really know how I was going to achieve that, right? And a lot of my teammates worked in finance. A lot of my I have Indian people, an Indian family. Like a lot of my Indian people were just like finance, money kind of things. So that's all I went into my freshman year thinking I was working in finance. I was an econ major, this, then the third. And by then, like he was like, yo, come out here. And, freshman year, you don't really do economics internships. And so, sorry, finance internships, like, a lot, like that's usually your sophomore, junior year. And he was like, come out here and, take a chance on this. I'm like, all right, bet, let's do it. So, if I'm here in China, and here I am thinking, I'm gonna work a desk job, and just kind of like be in a company and like not really know what I'm doing. And little did I know I was going to be on tour with Dwyane Wade, Udonis Haslem, CJ McCollum, as a freshman in college, like, those are some of my favorite, like Dwyane Wade is one of my favorite basketball players of all time. Udonis Haslem, like I grew up watching his pick and pop. I tell him this all the time. I grew up watching his pick and pops, and I'm a pick and pop guy. So like, just getting to travel with them, we did like 12 cities in 10 days that first year, that was really my first, like, okay, I could really work in this world. And that really kind of, like, to answer your question, gave me that jump start.
Yeah. So before we get into that whole Li Ning and that first experience, man, for the listeners, you guys heard my boy correctly, man. He went to Choate. For all my power watchers, man, that is the same Choate that took you on power. So, I gotta ask this question, man. Is Choate really like how it seems on the TV show, where it's like the elite of the elite? They got the running into the Bradens of the world, white folks, they got all this money. Like me and the we said that was Li Ning's son, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, shoot, I feel like you shaking hands and rubbing shoulders with who knows. So like, what was that time like at Choate?
It was different. So I can't lie, I've never seen Power. Every time I wanted to get into it, it was always way too late. But I've heard so much about it, and people always ask me that question when I mention Choate. So yeah, it is a lot like what y'all see at Power, in a sense where like it's just, bro, it's like like we call it like college with rules. Like it's, you living on campus with just like your boys, your team. Like we had a basketball house, a football house kind of thing. Like it just kind of worked out that way. And like just you went to school and you live with your homies. And excuse me, when I was at Lawrenceville, we had Saturday classes. on Choat, we didn't have Saturday classes, so you had a full weekend where you just, you know parents, you kind of do whatever you want. Obviously, there's rules like,
Right.
you get kicked off campus, you do certain things, but yeah, for sure. Like, for example, I mean, you Stephen A. Cohen, if y'all know him, but he's the one that the show Billions is about. He just bought the Mets. Like his daughter was there. Like there's a lot of just, when we talk about like the Kennedys kids, like, we talk like, it's the rich of the rich, like they're there. Yeah. Like it's crazy. Like the stuff that I've seen, like, I heard stories of kids, bro, like I'm about to go to Europe, grab my boat, bring it back. Like, kids like in islands I never heard of on breaks. And I'm sitting on campus like, damn, like, what am I, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
One of the things I can't help but think about just from hearing this story, man, is like people get certain places in life just off of certain, experiences, relationships, man. It's crazy that you met this kid, at Choate that you thought was a shoe plug that ended up opening a whole window of opportunity that has led to your career today. Like, I feel like when we talk about just, and not to go off into a tangent, man, but like when we're talking about these just foundational things that kind of, when it comes to people who are able to get these opportunities and break that glass ceiling, like everybody doesn't have the opportunity to maybe go to a Choate and meet these people that kind of give them these opportunities. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when you reflect on how that small interaction changed your life, and like you mentioned, you were at school in Raleigh, right? Like just being in Choate in Connecticut, meeting this kid that you thought was a shoe plug, how that has affected your life after that. How do you reflect on that? You know what I'm saying? And just, I feel like it's crazy to think that, something as small as that, man, being like, yo, how you got them shoes, bro?
Yeah.
No, I mean, so crazy now.
For sure, bro. I think about two things all the time. It's like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's a big thing that I've always kind of lived my life by. And, like the easy example I use is some of the best basketball players I've ever seen are not in the NBA. You've seen some dudes in the AAU circuit, you're like, yo, you a dog. Like, you probably one of the best hoopers, most skilled, whatever it may be, best shooter, whatever it may be, not in the NBA, because sometimes it's politics that gets involved, right? Like, it's not always the smartest or the best people that make it. It's the people that kind of know a lot of people or just the connections that you make, right? Like, I place a big emphasis on that. And also, secondly, I just think I place really just being on a genuine, just good person. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a good person, good things happen to good people, right? Like, there was no, I didn't go into this like meet him with an intent of getting anything. It's just a relationship that we built that, and I tell him to this day, bro, like, you changed my life. Like that's like, that's something I text him all the time, just randomly sometimes. Like, that's something that was no intention behind it. We were just, chopping it up and, ended up being something that I never expected. So, that's really the two things I always attested to.
Yeah. So you're a freshman in college, right? You're out here in China with Dwade, Udonis Haslem, CJ McCollum on his Li Ning tour, right? What was going through your mind at the time, man, as a freshman in college, and you go from going to a D3 school in Massachusetts to now you're hanging around and working with some of the best athletes in the world, man. I feel like that is a crazy culture shock, you know what I'm saying, to kind of adjust to so fast. So what was the kind of adjustment period like for you when you first started, working with them?
Just crazy, bro. I've always been a sponge. Like, the first thing you learn is like, they just people, man. Like, they just good people. Like, there's like, obviously, like, I've always been a person, I'm not really like a fanboy, but like, obviously, like, for example, if I grew up watching Dwyane Wade, like I grew up watching UD, like part of me is like, yo, like, this is crazy. Like, now let me see like what they did to get to where they, like, they got to. And even if it's like a basketball way, like a business way, like, I just want to understand. And like, obviously me being the hooper that I was, like, the only hooper on the tour, like wherever they went, like, if they wanted to work out, I'd go work out with them. We was in the gym. Tim Martin, love Tim. Shout out to Tim. He was the trainer on the tour. He's part of the Way of Wade family as well. And so, like, with me and him, we're kind of just, we do all the workouts and, just getting to like be in the gym and just understand, like, for example, like, Dwyane Wade was always known as a person that can't, like a shooting guard that can't really shoot. That dude don't miss. We in the gym, he don't miss. UD, don't miss. Like, people clown his little jump shot. I still clown him to this day with his little, ugly jump shot that he got. But he don't miss. Like, what I mean? Like, these guys really don't miss. So it's just crazy just being in the gym to understand, or even how they work out, bro. Like, we were always taught, like, go bench press, go squat. Like, every workout I've really done with UD, like, it's never really been a power lift. Like, it's been a lot of core, a lot of just like, like high reps. Sometimes it's high weight, but a lot of it's like medium weight. Like, it's just a different way they work out where it's a lot of like maintaining rather than like, yo, I'm gonna just go get big. You know what I mean? Like, you work out with football players, they're just trying to get big a lot of the time. So like, just seeing those kind of things, it was crazy. Just understanding and just, the conversations you get to have, like the experiences, like you get to ask questions that like, I bet reporters dream about asking, you know what I mean? So like, it's just the conversation you get to have. And like, obviously, when you go on the road with people and you travel with people, you get close with them just naturally. So, it was a blessing. It was a blessing. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. So you go to the, do the 12 cities in 10 days out in China for Li Ning, right? How does that transition into you end up, being able to work for UD, right? And become his guy that he's, working with personally, running off his stuff, right?
Yeah.
What does that next couple, months, years, whatever look like for you when you come home from China after that first internship?
100%, bro. So I always look at it as like out of sight, out of mind, right? Like I look at like just relationships and networking, right? But these guys just think about it. Like UD's been in the, just retired after 20 season. Like think about how many people he's probably met in his 20 years. So I like the out of sight, out of mind will come and play. But for example, in that first China tour, like I looked at it as like a lot of times, like UD kind of was like he wanted to do certain things, and like I took it upon myself to just look at like Dwayne, for example, had everyone around him. He had a whole like just everything he needed like was handed to him on a silver platter, right? And like UD sometimes would have slipped through the cracks. So I was like, yo, let me look out for UD. Like let me and him and I got really close just off the front. Like we're both clowns. We were working out like we couldn't sleep. We would work out at like midnight, 1 a.m. We'd be playing Mario Kart at like 3 a.m. till like 6 a.m. Just chopping up. So naturally, like we just kind of built that relationship. And then my team would go, my college team would go down to Florida every December for a Christmas tournament. And every time I was down there, I would just hit him up, be like, yo, I'm around, like would love to link up, whatever. And I'm always gonna send it, like, we send like every time we're in the same city, we chopping it up. Yeah. And the first time I was, pull up to my restaurant, come say what's up. We just chopping it up a little bit. And, we just talking, I'm letting him know a little bit about the stuff since Li Ning or outside of Li Ning that I've been doing. And then, the second time it was, he's like, pull up to the crib, bro. Like, I went to his crib. We're just sitting in his man cave talking, watching some sports. And like, when I got to the point where it's like, I see you doing these internships. I see you doing a lot of stuff. Why don't you come, like pretty much like handle it for me? Like come, come run the partnerships, like marketing, like kind of, handle a lot of that stuff. And, let's work together. And ever since then, bro, I think that was by then, it was probably my junior year of college. Like just took that and ran with it. Like, I didn't look back,
So what's going through my mind is, right, like you're mentioning, all right, you do the Li Ning thing, and he's saying that, oh yeah, I'm seeing what you've been doing with the internships, because at the end of the day, you're not just a guy that's around, right? Yeah. Like you're qualified in the things that you're doing in order to be able to run these things and have a guy like Udonis Haslem ask you to be a part of his team, right? Yeah. So for somebody who may be listening to this and is like, damn, like, bro, what did you do to kind of prepare yourself? What were kind of the things that you were doing behind the scenes to, make sure your personal repertoire was equipped to be able to handle that type of responsibility in running an NBA player's stuff, right? Like what kind of internships were you doing? How were you preparing yourself? What were you doing kind of behind the scenes to kind of prepare yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So, outside of Li Ning, so my freshman year I did Li Ning. My sophomore year, I entered the Octagon in their Olympic and Action Sports division. And like, while that sounds interesting, it's like, it has nothing to do with basketball. Like the cool thing that I took out of that is at the end of the day, Olympic and action sports, a lot of those athletes don't make a salary. So the money that they make in their pocket is strictly from endorsements and partnerships, and that's their salary. So like, I really got to learn the ins and outs of like what it takes to get sometimes not the biggest names, certain brand deals, or how the outreach works and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that. And then, I took that and I was like, okay, I got this experience. I really want to be in basketball. So I had the opportunity to intern for Catalyst Sports and Media. It's no longer an agency existence, but they repped a bunch of players like Marcus Smart, Romeo Langford, and Mark Stoudemire, RJ Hampton, stuff like that. And pretty much, and it was a remote internship for my guy, Brandon Coran, one of my mentors to this day. Like, I call him all the time just for advice. And, just, I was pretty much like, in a way, his assistant and just learning. And he was the one guy running partnerships for like 15, 20 dudes and not only partnerships, but he was tracking their social media. Everything kind of comes into play. Like he was handling a lot of this stuff at the court, whether it's booking reservations, getting them into clubs, like whatever it may be, like he's just handling all of that for the agents. And so, I really got to learn, to learn a lot about that. And, and people see it, right? Like at the end of the day, social media, it can be, you can post yourself or you can post kind of what you're doing. And like, I kind of got to a point where I started looking at my social media as like a kind of my LinkedIn, like it's become more and more that where, I don't really post on LinkedIn anymore. I post on social media just so like, because a lot of that, the networking can happen through that. And so, UD was like, I'll be seeing what you're doing and like, come, work with that. And the way that kind of translates, for example, like, when I first started working with UD, like, when I worked at Catalyst, there was a player there, similar following that was getting paid, a certain amount for a social media post. When I started with UD, he was getting paid way below that for social media posts. And I was like, well, I'm working with this other guy. He has the same amount of following. You might even have a bigger name than him. You do have a bigger name than him. pretty similar engagement in your social media, but you're getting paid way less. So we got to fix this. So, we're just talking about stuff like that. He was like, oh, like, I see that you understand this no matter like, I'm talking about this. I was like 21, 22, maybe 23 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like talking to at that point, like a 37, 38-year-old, So like, but like just the relationship and the honesty that I was able to build with that, like he was like, yo, like I really, let's rock kind of thing. And he gave me an opportunity that shit. Him and I were talking about this the other day, bro. Like no matter what I do in my life, like my loyalties lie with you because this is the opportunity that you gave me in this world. So
Yeah, man. I feel like that's so important, man, because I feel like from the outside looking in, and this had nothing to do with you. I'm talking about most. So people always will, let's say like LeBron, right? And they'll see like Rich Paul and Mav or whatever, and they'll think that these guys are just his homies that he just put on that aren't like qualified to do the work, right? And when you might see somebody who's working with a UD or a Dwade, or you're like, damn, how this dude working with this guy? But it's like, yo, nah, like these people who are on these people's teams are qualified to do the work. And you have to prepare yourself on your end before you can expect somebody to give you a job or opportunity or things like that. I think it's very important to kind of uncover that aspect of this because, again, you hoop and things like that, and you had the connection with the guy from Li Ning, but it wasn't just like, you're not here today because you were his homie or you just happened to run to him. Like you actually knew what you were doing and you were competent in the things that you were working on, right? I think that's a key piece in all of this because a lot of times people get that twisted. A lot of times, like, have you ever dealt with that kind of stuff? What do you think about that?
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, on the flip side, there are a lot of people that are around and they just, they the homies, like those stories you hear, right? Like, back to Allen Iverson and those kind of days. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people that you do see around. You're kind of like, okay, like what you doing here? You know what I mean? But when you kind of like the more you grow in this business, like you can kind of see who provides value, who doesn't, right? You understand it at that point. Like, and yeah, like that's the way I kind of look at it, bro. Like, for example, with Rich Paul, he was talking about, the interview he recently did about being on the payroll. And like just being like, what am I doing on the payroll? Which mind you, like he was getting paid like pennies, right, to be on that payroll. But like he took that, he was like, yo, I'm gonna go work at CAA, I'm gonna be an assistant, learn the game, and then do it myself, right? Like just kind of like the way I always looked at it is like all I need is a seat at the table. Once you give me a seat at the table, bro, like I'll take care of the rest. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of that like everyone needs an opportunity. That I do believe that the people that say they made it themselves probably lying a lot of the times, right? Like there's always somebody that kind of helped you, and that's why I really love to pay it forward, and obviously there's a long way to go, but I do like you got to provide value at the end of the day, and that's something Brandon Coran really like hammered. Like if you're gonna be around these guys, like you can be that guy that just goes to party with them and like just goes around for the fun times, but like provide value and like you're gonna have a real relationship with a lot of these people. So.
Thanks. You made me think of two things just now. So the first thing I want to say is this is more so a statement than a question, man. I couldn't agree with you more, man, about that statement about when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm self-made" or "I got it by myself." Like, bro, I feel like it takes a sense of arrogance to be able to say that because I feel like for my example, in basketball, I know for 100%, bro, I bust my ass to be where I'm at, and I put in a lot of work in the gym.
Hell yeah.
But I will be a fool to say, "Oh, I got it out the mud. I'm self-made. I'm a pro because I put in this amount of hours in the gym and this and that." It's like, nah, bro. You need a lot of luck in this business. Number one, you need to have some people in your corner that can advise you when you don't know what to do, or can give you a hand, just make a connection, introduce you to somebody that you might have met that can bridge you to the next level, man. So I will never ever be somebody that would say, "Oh yeah, man, I'm self-made. I don't care how many hours I put in the gym. I don't care what type of adversity I had to fight through. Like, I will never be the person that would do that, man." I think that a lot of people, when I always see that, like, nah, bro, like, hey, that ain't it, man.
Bro, I agree. Like, even if it's like somebody just says a sentence to you, like whatever it is, somebody said something to you, like did something for you, like just gave you opportunity, like there's something that's happened in everybody's life that like kind of changed. Like I think of all the time, bro. Like I remember being in China, we had a whiskey tasting, and our Alicia Amazing, she runs the partnerships for SC30 now. Used to be at CAA, one of my mentors to this day. And she was like, she came up to me just randomly and was like, "Yo, like I could really see you working in this world. Like I know you're thinking about it a little bit. You got that little finance, thing that your parents might be pushing you towards a little bit or whatever. But I see you doing this sports business stuff. Like go for it." And bro, after that, I heard that I never looked back. So like that little thing that she said to me, like she didn't do anything, like she didn't give me anything. She didn't all she did was say like a little statement to me, and it changed everything for me. You know what I'm saying? So like little things like that, I look back on and I'm like, yeah, when people say that, I'm like, it's cap. I really don't believe it. I really don't believe it. Yeah.
Now, the second thing I wanted to ask on your previous statement, for the people who didn't catch the Rich Paul interview, man, as somebody who is working in that business, right? Can you explain what he was referring to when he talked about, being on the payroll and talking about, I want to go off of that payroll? Like, what is he referring to, and like, how does that work as far as like when you're working with these players, and trying to make something of yourself? But obviously, you guys are being paid to be on these people's teams, right? So can you just explain that aspect of it for people who might not have seen that clip?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of times you see, right, like there's stories of some of these players. I think it might have been Allen Iverson or like, who was it, Lamar Odom? Somebody was paying like, it might have been Michael Beasley actually, paying like 10 to 20 people's phone bills at a time. Right? Like, certain guys, like, they have people on their payroll just to kind of keep them around and just be there, like support their boys in a way, right? Like you call it payroll, but like, you might be like, I think Rich Paul was getting what, 30, 40,000 or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers. I don't remember right now, but like, just like kind of like being around and supporting them a little bit and like maybe taking care of handling a couple of things, maybe making a restaurant reservation or what that. But like, people like Rich Paul, he saw it as like, yeah, I could take this little 30, 40, 50,000, whatever it is, and just kick it and like just be one of the boys. Or I could really take this as like a lesson to learn and make way more money in the long run, right? And like you see him now, bro, like every time you see a big contract or like agencies that are signing the biggest contracts, Rich Paul's the pioneer there, or Rich Paul's making his clients the most money, right? So like he kind of like he didn't have that short-term thinking of like, oh, I'm cool and I'm around these NBA players, I'm posting great social media posts, I'm having a great time partying with them, you know what I mean? Like, or I'm with LeBron James, the greatest of all time, I can kick it and I'll be good regardless. He was like, no, I want to make something bigger of myself. And he runs damn near one of the biggest agencies in the world now, right? Like he just released that book. I actually just ordered it. I just delivered. I'm about to read it. Like, I'm a big fan of just reading that stuff. And one point I will make though, he did this one interview where like a lot of people he reached out to didn't support him. A lot of people didn't, they didn't, like they didn't in his community, for example, especially like they kind of talk bad on his name, didn't support him. And it's crazy, bro. I see that a lot in the sports world. Like, and there's a lot of things that he's saying. Like, what I really love about him, he's kind of exposing the industry. And he's also just like showing like, there's ways you can do it without just being one of the boys kind of thing,
Yeah, 100%. So kind of getting it back to the whole China experience, man. So obviously you get to run stuff with UD. He brings you on the team, right? Like we did a podcast with Nav Visuals, man. Shout out my guy Nav. He does photography for Trae Young and Adidas and stuff like that. And he was talking about when he first. Yeah. It's a good guy, man. It's a good dude, man. I know he's boys with Trae as well. And he was talking about kind of when he first started working with Trae, how it was kind of an adjustment that had to take place, man, because of the lifestyle change that happened so quickly, man. And he was talking about how he kind of had a bit of like imposter syndrome a little bit. Like you're hanging out with these A-list celebrities and you're running all this stuff. And he had to kind of adjust to the fact like, damn, like on the outside looking in, he's like, yeah, man, this isn't really my life. I'm just taking pictures of Trae and I'm doing stuff for Trae and it's his life. But then it's like, nah, like this is my life because now I'm working for Trae. It has become a part of my life to be in these circles and be in these spaces. So I'm wondering for you, when you started handling stuff for UD, you're on the road, like you're with the Heat, like full time, like on a personal level, like what was that adjustment like for you? I know you said before, like you didn't really have that whole, fanboy thing, but I feel like going from just kind of, doing a little bit of freelance here to now, it's like this is your full-time job and you're investing in that lifestyle 100% of the time. There had to be some kind of adjustment period or kind of, I guess, transition that had to take place for you. But what was that process like?
For sure, bro. I mean, a lot of times, like I mentioned about the finals, like I've had the blessing of just being in places that I never thought I'd be, or just like I've always dreamed of being, and I didn't think it happened as quickly, right? Like, I got to go to All-Star Weekend, bro, and like some of this, places in the rooms that I was in, I was just like, I got to like, party with Allen Iverson, for example. Like those little like that's my favorite player other than Kobe Bryant, or rest in peace, of all time. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting here like that's crazy. Got to be at MLB All-Star Weekend. And we're in a suite with like Michael Rubin, Travis Scott, stuff like that. And like there's things where I'm like, is this real life right now? You know what I mean? And but like, at the end of the day, it all boils down to like, these are people like, like if you fanboy them a lot of times, like you're probably not gonna have a relationship with them, right? Like if you talk to them like they're a regular person, like treat them like a good person, just a regular person, like you might have a relationship with them, or you might have a chance to like, go past like just being a fan, right? So, right. Of course, like a lot of times, bro, like I pinch I've had to pinch myself a lot of times. I'm sitting in certain places and I'm like, damn, it's a blessing. Like I just keep like, every time I post an Instagram picture, like I almost wanted to say blessed every time, bro. Like every time I just wanted to be blessed because it's crazy, bro. My mom, she makes me carry this thing around all the time. It says thankful, grateful, blessed, and that's kind of like the way I live my life. Like, and I'm gonna get it tatted on at some point, but just like I pinch myself a lot, bro. Like there's a lot of times where I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like not only am I at the finals, but I'm on the court in the finals. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing things that like I'm sitting here like, that's crazy. But, you know, that also comes with a lot of responsibility. Like me and UD talk about this all the time. Like, yeah, you get these blessings of going to these places and doing this, but make something out of it. Like, yeah, you could just go, for example, to All-Star Weekend and just party and just, you know, have a good time and not like, you know, do it. But I try to make it so like every time I do something, there's also like business coming out of it too, right? So like I'm going All-Star Weekend, everything's taken care of. I'm, you know, I'm having a great time, but it's like, all right, now let me connect, you know, like I'm connected with Hennessy people, like I'm connected with like Body Armor, like certain brands at the end of the day, like now, like we're you know, we're getting to the point where like certain companies, we're gonna start working together, we're starting to do certain things, you know what I mean? So like I try to make it both where like, you know, I have this thing with, for example, every game I go to in the Heat, first quarter, fourth quarter, I'm sitting there watching the game. Usually second and third quarter, I'm running around meeting people. You know, I'm talking to people. I'm sitting down, grabbing a drink with somebody. Like, you know, a lot of networking going on. A lot of people, like if somebody's at the game, business person, whatever, like, you know, I've seen enough basketball games at this point where like I don't feel like I'm missing too much. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
unless it's like a really, really important, huge game. So like I use those second and third quarter and halftime to like network, maybe create some business opportunities and stuff like that. So, you know, I try to like, you know, have the fan aspect, but also the business aspect of it together to answer your question.
I ain't gonna lie, that's a great tip. I'm gonna keep that in mind next time I go to a game. No cap. I like that, bro. No lie. Like last year when my brother was with the Clippers, luckily we got a little family pass. So you could like go obviously in the back and you in the
Yeah.
back little food lounge and people everybody back there. I'm like, yo, like I'm gonna keep that one in the
Yeah,
stash.
yeah, that's something me and my brother and mentor Sylvester King Jr. Like, you know, we do that a lot. Like we'll look at each other and be like, it's time, bro, let's work. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
we have a great time. Come back for the fourth quarter, we'll have a great time. Overtime, have a great time. But you know, let's work a little bit too. So
Yeah.
everywhere we go, that's kind of like, you know, we make sure that every trip we go on, you know, whatever money's spent, like at some point, like that money comes back in ROI in one way or another. You know?
Yeah. That's major. I like that. I like that. So now getting into kind of the nitty-gritty of it, right? Like I feel like the term like NBA player manager or somebody said, all right, yeah, like you was managing UD, right? It's kind of a vague term, right?
Yeah.
So what does some of the things that like what does your job actually look like, right? When you're working for a player such as Udonis Haslem,
Yeah.
what kind of things are you responsible for? And what does that actually look like for you kind of overseeing those things?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I look at that like you know, like there's kind of always been like two roles, right? Like there's an NBA agent, there's the marketing agent, and then there's kind of like the manager in the middle that handles like all the day-to-day stuff. And
Yeah.
the way I look at it is like when I say everything off the court, like, and I'm working, you know, between like, you know, I'm working on starting this little agency at some point, you know, it's called, you know, something about off the court, everything off the court. It's um, like you just, there's like everything goes off the court, right? So like you have your marketing, your partnerships off the court, anything that doesn't have to do with an NBA contract, you know, you got your marketing partnerships, and then, but it's also like, you know, the day-to-day stuff, right? Whether it's reservations, club, like whatever it may be for your family, for your kids, like whatever it may be, like whatever you need can get handled in you know, in one capacity or another. So like that's kind of like, it's kind of like a manager, but it's also like the manager plus marketing and partnerships. If that makes sense. Like
Right.
some guys may want more marketing and partnerships, and that's all they need. They got their manager, they got their agent. All right, cool, like can handle that. Or it's like you want the manager stuff, you want your day-to-day stuff handled, whatever, like can handle that too, right? So that's the kind of way I looked at it. Like I always thought I wanted to be an agent, but you know, I found my niche and like kind of like what I really enjoy and what I'm successful in is just the off the court stuff. You know, you get to network a lot, you connect a lot, like there's a lot you can do. And like I look at it as like super beneficial just because like, you know, when you're an agent, you get your client a 4-year contract, say for 3 years, it's a lot more like client services. You're kind of just like, there's not really much for you to do. That's like the other guys that come in that like support the agent that are really necessary, whether it's the manager or the day-to-day guy, right? Or like, which is kind of the manager or the marketing partnerships guy, because that's the guys within the other 3 years that are bringing the rest of the money or supporting you the rest of those 3 years. So,
Right.
you know, especially with agents that are, that's why, you know, I found my niche in just connecting with a lot of agents or just like working with agents or agencies, just because it's like, you know, I can handle the day-to-day stuff and make you look good and support your client while you take care of the big contracts, the big stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Now you talked a little bit earlier about like outreach, right, and like learning about how to reach out to brands and like secure partnership deals for your guys and stuff like that. Like, what does that process look like? In trying to secure partnerships for these NBA athletes, right? Like, obviously, for example, a guy like Udonis Haslem, right, who's a 3-time NBA champion, and obviously a lot of people are, especially down in Miami, man. I mean, he's the mayor of the city down there, right? Like, so, but when you're trying to secure an opportunity or a brand partnership for a guy like UD, right? What does that process look like?
I mean, it's a lot of outreach to some inbound, right? Like a lot of times brands, like if they like, they just need to know who to reach out to. But if a brand like wants to, like, for example, the way we look at UD, right? If you want to break into the Florida market, especially Miami, really there's one person you got to go through, and that's Udonis Haslem. Like there's no one else. Like no one else really makes sense other than Udonis Haslem, right? Just because of like the history that he has there. So like there's that aspect, and also like there's certain brands like if you're interested, for example, like he's if you're like for example he really liked Old Spice, like he uses Old Spice, like he was a big fan of like the commercials, like we saw a lot of the Iman Shumpert and Tiana Taylor stuff. So no, I took it upon myself. I was like, yeah, and I also really wanted to get him a deal with Old Spice, and during the bubble, it worked out. Like we got him a deal with Old Spice, where he posted about like in the robe, like the classic that robe picture with the the body wash and stuff like that. So stuff like that. Like he's if you're a big fan of something, like what I tell players a lot of times is like if you're a fan of something, like post it on your social media. People sometimes see it as free, like tag the brand or like don't tag the brand or like send me the picture, because at least like if we send the brand and they see that you're actually it's genuinely interested in it, like they gonna mess with you. You know what I mean? Like they go and whether they're either gonna get you some free product or they're gonna sign you for a deal. You know what I mean? So like that's a big thing. And then also like a lot of LinkedIn and like Instagram like outreach. So like there's a lot of like marketing people, brand like people on LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn is huge. Like it's a great networking platform. Like if you have a short simple message, you reach out to these brands and just you connect with them, set up calls, and it's no different than like a sales cycle, right? Like you do the outreach, you set up a meeting, and hopefully the deal closes. And like I always say, like if you can DM a chick on IG, you can DM a brand on on IG too, right? Like if you got the balls to do that stuff and shoot DMs of the chicks, like you're saying why can't you reach out to a brand and say, hey, I got this athlete, he's really interested in your brand, let's talk. And a lot of times these brands are checking their DMs. You know what I mean? Like I've gotten a lot of great responses from just DMing a brand. So
yeah, that's major. That's major. What would you say like when it comes to the I guess just your experience thus far working with UD and handling his stuff, right? Working with the Heat and things like that, just being around. What would you say would be the most important aspect, right, for somebody who's maybe listening to this and they're trying to break into the business, right? Like, what would you say is the most important aspect in trying to break into this industry, man? Because at the end of the day, everybody can't, rub shoulders with, these guys in China and have that relationship, right? So what would you say is the most important piece to making that happen?
I mean, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, bro. Find a way to provide value. Like, don't don't act like you better than anything. For example, like UD needed some help with like booking like a hotel Airbnb. I was like, I got you, bro. Get into the restaurant. I got you. And like, now we go to Boston, for example, like we got nice restaurants that I can always text and just be like, yo, we're going to a restaurant. Like, for example, we go into Boston and like, I was able to drive him around. Like I drove him around everywhere because I had a car out there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I've been his driver, his reservation person, his marketing person. I've helped his kids out, his wife. Like, there's nothing that like you can be bigger than, because as long as you're providing value, like, what I mean? Like you're here, you know what I mean? So like provide value in different ways, and like look at like how you can help, and don't be bigger than nothing. Like, you're not bigger than anything, right? Like,
yeah.
So
yeah. I thought some people can't put that ego aside, man. That's going to lead you right where you at.
Yeah.
That's going to lead right where you at. I know you just also got back this summer, man, from China. You were out there with D'Angelo Russell, Dwade UD, doing that China tour this summer. That was for the Way of Wade and Li Ning as well. I think.
Yeah, bro.
Talk about that whole experience, man. That looks super dope just watching that from afar.
Yeah. Man, this year was special too, bro, because like we used to do it every year before the pandemic. Once the pandemic hit, it's been 5 years since we did the tour. So, last year we thought we were going to be able to do it, and it was obviously the pandemic was still happening a little bit, but this year, like, they finally made it happen. They did Li Ning. So like, Li Ning is like a kind of like a Nike and Jordan, right? Li Ning has their athletes. For example, Jimmy Butler is under Li Ning, and then the Way of Wade brand has Dwade, D'Lo, UD, Zaire, and Zaire was on the tour too, bro. So like, it was great because it was for Zaire, Dwade, D'Lo, and UD, and man, it was just like we did 4 or 5 big cities, first time back in 4 or 5 years, and it was just like the love, bro. Like I talk about it all the time, like the love overseas is different. Like like I was telling like athletes, like if you think you're a celebrity in the US, like travel overseas, bro. You might be a god out there. Like it's different. Like the love and the respect, like like for and obviously this year was special because it was UD's retirement. Like the best night we probably had, bro, was they threw a party for UD for his retirement. And man, like they had a statue of him. Like you probably seen the pictures, bro. Like everyone was having a great time. They brought in DJs, dancers, like just everything, bro. Like and like they made special shoes for him, special jackets, hats. Like, man, we had a great time. Like, what I mean? So like the level of detail, the love they show, like it's just, it's dope. And I like Li Ning, for example, wait, like I'm wearing a hoodie right now, bro. Like it'll always be family. Like, and this year was special for me too, just in the sense where like, when I was going in college, I was an intern. You know what I mean? So like I was kind of there more like helping. And then, this year I was a guest. Like I had an intern. So like it was kind of like a full circle moment for me, bro. And you know, it goes back to like I had to pinch myself again, bro, because it's like I'm like before I was supporting everybody now, and obviously like still like, you know, I'm still there to support UD and the team. Like, you know, obviously it was me, UD, and Sylvester. But like at the end of the day, like I was a guest, and like, you know, we had an intern, you know what I mean? Like I got like I, you know, and like they kind of catered to what we wanted. So it was crazy, bro. Like it was just a full circle moment for me.
Man, that's love, man. I gotta ask, 'cause I feel like one of my favorite moments of Trade podcast was hearing him talk about the whole when he went on vacation with Melo, and he was like, he's riding jet skis and looking to his side, like, yo, I'm really racing Melo on jet skis. I feel like that's such a crazy moment, man. Like, you have any crazy stories just from hanging with UD or Dwade on all these tours, man, that really stuck out to you, or where you really like, man, like that was crazy, or like something that I guess you remember the most?
Yeah, bro. Like I'll send you a picture, bro. Like there's a picture of like me, Sylvester, UD, D-Wade, D-Lo, and like just all doing the cheers. I'm sitting here like, yo, I'm at the club with these guys doing the cheers. Like it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like for example, there was a night, and I'll never forget this night. The second China tour where like me and UD worked out from like 12 to probably like 1:30 in the morning. That we was at the bar. It was like me, D-Wade, UD, and Tim talking until probably 2, 3 in the morning, just chopping it up, bro. Like, you know, talking about life, hearing stories, just kind of like, you know, like just like I was one of the boys kind of thing, you know what I mean? And then like you know, I'm back in my room and I get a FaceTime from UD probably like 3 in the morning. He's like, "What you doing, bro?" And I'm like, "I go to bed. It's 3 in the morning." He's like, "Pull up, let's play some Mario Kart." And you know, we playing Mario Kart till like 6, 7 in the morning, just chopping it up. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here like, damn, I'm really with, you know, at that point, like a sophomore, freshman in college, like chopping it up with Udonis Haslem, just playing Mario Kart. This shit crazy. You know what I mean? So stuff like that, bro. And then like it's even just getting to work out. Like, you know, there was a morning, I mean, we was out till probably like in China like 3 in the morning. And then like, you know, 6:30, 7, D-Lo every morning, bro. D-Lo like every morning, 6, 7 in the morning was working out in China. And so like you know, that was probably my second day there. We just got back like 2, 3 in the morning, and you know, we was all like, we sure we going out to work out? D-Lo's like, hell yeah, I'm going to work out. So we get there like 7:30 and we playing basketball, and D-Lo's like, you ready, bro? And I, you know, I love to talk shit, bro. So, you know, I was talking shit to D-Lo. I'm gonna cook you, bro. Like you can't, like I'm gonna guard you. I'm gonna lock you up. And he's like, all right, bro, let's play some ones. We play King of the Court, and like there's a video of just us playing King of the Court. I'm sitting here like, yo, I'm playing King of the Court with D'Angelo Russell. Like that's dope. You know what I mean? Like I will say he kicked my ass, but that dude, I see like he's so shifty, bro. Like that dude is tough. But like just like little things like that, I'm like, yo, I have a dope picture of like, you know, it's me and D'Lo playing 1-on-1. Like I'm like, you know, there's little moments like that where I'm like, I'm really doing this. You know what I mean? Like it's dope. I'll pitch myself, but you know, it's crazy.
That's cool. Now you definitely got some of their pictures, man. No cap.
Yeah,
So I got 2 questions. Number one, shout out to D-Lo, man. This isn't even a question. This is a statement. Shout out to D-Lo, man, because if I'm out to 2, 3 a.m., woo,
bro.
to the gym at 7 is slow.
But you see how you've been playing in the preseason, right? Like,
Hey,
you know what I mean? Like,
and he guarding too.
yeah, bro. Like same thing. Like I see, like you really see like how, like for example, Haywood Highsmith, bro. Like in the summer, you know, that's a really close friend of mine now. Like every morning, 5 in the morning was working out, and now you see him in the preseason, bro. That motherfucker is hooping. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? So like shit like that, like you really see like some of the guys that put in the extra effort, and you're like, yeah, it makes sense now. Like I like, and that's the cool part of like being able to be behind the scenes. Like you see that, and you're like, I told you. You know what I mean? Like you'll see, because you know, like, to the casual fan, like they don't understand certain things like this, but it's like when you really see it, you see the behind the scenes, you're like, I understand now. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be funny as hell when Haywood have a breakout year this year, and everybody's like, "Who the fuck is Haywood Highsmith?" And it's like, bro, he's been there, like he's been working.
Like,
you know what I'm saying? I feel like every year he's been with the Heat, he's gotten better. His roles increased, and it's like now that they lost Gabe and Max, it's like minutes are there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm excited to see this year, man, and just see how he takes advantage of the opportunity, man. Because
bro.
it's going up.
15 points the last game. Like, what was it, like 6 for 8? So I'm like 2 for 3 from 3, like in D3s. Like, I mean, but it's like, been in the gym with him, bro. Like, I've seen him do this. Like, he does this on a regular. Like, it's not just like he just showing up one day and doing this. Like, he's been doing this. You know what I mean? So like, it's just like, yeah, like it's cool to see like when they start to get the recognition they deserve. You're like,
Thanks.
like been seeing that. You know what I mean? Like for example, D'Lo. Like D'Lo had such a great season last year, and all people want to talk about his last couple games in the playoffs, and it's like, Like that motherfucker can hoop. You know what I mean? Like, and y'all will see again. Like y'all understand why. Like, you know
The
what I mean?
work
Like,
going to show. The work
yeah,
going to show.
exactly.
Now, my second question to that was, how is it that you're a sophomore in college, right? You going on these tours with UD. I need to go back to school after that because if I go back to school, I'm popping my shit. I'm like, man, listen, the stuff Rogers had, yo, you feel me?
Yeah.
I ain't doing. Man, listen, I'm out of here. Like,
Yeah.
who was that like coming back to school, man? After all this is going on.
Yeah, it's funny, bro. Like, obviously I'm getting, I got to do all that cool shit, and then it's like I'm going back to cold ass Maine. You know what I mean? But that's where like you can like like we code switch so much in life, bro. Like you kind of just had to code switch a little bit, right? Like you just like back here in Maine, kind of just do I can't wait till next summer. But I mean, the cool part about it is, bro, is like obviously working with a brand is like you just get so much gear. So like I came back and like not only did I have so much gear, but I got all my people gear. You know what I mean? So like, and I take obviously Way is really close to my heart. Like just because of the opportunity and the people that I know there. So like I give people so much stuff. Like I got you like Way stuff. So like came back and I looked like the man, bro. People thought I was Santa Claus just handing out gear. You know what I mean? Like shoes, gear, shirts, like whatever it was. Like everybody got some. So it was a good time. But like it was the code switch a little bit, but I got to take care of my people in the process.
Yo, facts. That's jokes, man. When I come home, man, I'm coming to shop, man. I'm letting you know now. I'm coming.
I got you, bro. I didn't realize you were that tall, bro. So I got you.
Nah, man, we the same size, low key.
Low key.
Man, so I feel like just all this is like I feel like one of my favorite parts about just having this podcast is, man, just hearing the different perspective from everybody on how they got to where they got to, man, because there's no one singular way. And I feel like I've heard both sides of the coin. For example, like we had a guest on last week. Her name is Maya Reese, Overtime Maya. She does a bunch of stuff for the Overtime Women's page or whatever. And she was talking about like how low. She was like, yeah, like I'm not really big on the networking and relationships. Like for me, every job I ever got was like off of LinkedIn. Like, going off of LinkedIn, like she's a LinkedIn bandit, like just applying for jobs. And, like, her resume just kind of like continues to increase and increase and increase. But then I had other people, like, for example, we had Julia Adams. She does social for GQ. And she was talking about like how she was like, she's never, ever applied for a job with a resume and like gotten it. Like every single job that she's gotten has been through a relationship. She talked about how she got her job as the social manager at GQ. Off of having like a coffee with this dude, just talking about her work, doing social media for NBA, and just like one thing led to another, and boom, So for you throughout your journey, it seems like, you've definitely been somebody who's benefited from a lot of relationships, man, and networking and having those conversations. You talk about going to Heat games and having those conversations and shaking hands and stuff. Just can you talk about just the power of networking, man, and how it can manifest in this situation, man? But I feel like it's so huge, man, in this space, especially when the business of NBA. At the end of the day, basketball, but this is the business of people at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So can you reflect on that?
Yeah, bro, for sure. And to your point with Maya, right? Like with like the LinkedIn stuff, like I think that LinkedIn is still networking. Like I'm a huge believer in networking one way or another, right? Like not like it's hard to walk up to a stranger and talk to them. Like I understand, like not everyone has to be like we're outgoing people, right? Like you and I. So it's not hard for us, but like I understand for a lot of people that may not be they might not have that ability. Where you can use LinkedIn, you can use social media. Like there's so many different ways. Like there's some people I've met that are like so high on social media, but you meet them in person, they kind of shy people, right? But it's like one way or another, like you got to network because at the end of the day, like again, back to that quote that I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Like that's really what I believe in. Like like I've seen like again, even with the jobs, like I've seen some of the most qualified people not get the job over somebody because they knew the son or you know what I mean? Like they knew somebody. So it's like I do believe that networking is a huge part. And then the second part to it is just being a genuine good person because you can do the first part and like use people. But at some point, because, a lot of the sports where like a lot of people use a lot of people and I've seen it a lot, have personal experiences with it. But like that shit, like, that shit catches up to you at some point. If you're a good, genuine person, you network, like people going to come to you because your name will pop out in certain ways, and that's why like I've had the ability, can't really say who yet, but like I've had the ability to like work with other players just off of like word of mouth and just like the trust and like the like my name being out there kind of thing, right? So like had a meeting recently, with a guy on the Bulls, and it's like like just through referrals of like some my mentor saying something or like a friend saying something, and then like sitting down with them, they're like it's just I haven't updated my resume in probably 2-3 years, but it's like it's just kind of like just people bringing that name around. So I've seen a little bit of both. I do a lot of LinkedIn. Again, I look at my Instagram as my LinkedIn at this point. Like it's very just like business oriented for me at this point. A lot of networking, I talk to a lot of brands on there. So I, if I'm hit up a brand, I gotta have my, my shit clean too, right? So, I think there's so many different ways of networking that like I like to utilize, and I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge, man. Kind of staying on like that kind of business aspect too, man. Something that I've always wondered and been curious about, right, is like a lot of these NBA players, man, like when they say, "Oh man, all you gotta do is get to that second contract, man. You can live off of the interest. So all you gotta do is like if you make a certain amount of money, obviously we've seen guys blow their money and guys that have made money and like lost it. But I feel like for a guy like UD, right, who's been able to, I mean, I don't think he's never been he's never been a max guy, right? He's never been a guy that signed $100 million contract, but he does very, very well for himself financially. When it comes to just being financially literate and kind of making sure your money lasts, right? What are some things that I guess these NBA guys are doing to kind of make sure that their money is taken care of and things like that? Because I find that's something that a lot of people wonder or don't really realize. It's like you don't have to make $150 million to be set for life when it comes to basketball, right? If you do checks and you do the right things with your money, you'd be cool, right? So can you just talk about that aspect of it?
Hell yeah. I mean, just being an NBA player as a whole, like puts you in a business category like no other, right? Like you're able to, brands are going to want to work with you. Like people will pay you just for a store appearance. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can use I'll break it down in two different ways. You have your NIL as a person and you have your social media as like a business, right? Like if you use both in the right way, like you're just gonna like money will keep flowing in. And like two, you gotta have the right people around you. Like that's the biggest thing, bro. Because if you have homies, like a shorty, like whatever it is, like if you have people like a significant other, like family members that are just calling you, asking you for money, or just like whatever it is, like because once you make it, everybody comes out the woodworks to try to talk to you. If you like, you gotta have the right people around you. Even if it's not you, have people around you that are able to say no or make sure or check you, kind of thing, right? Like the best thing is being able to like you check each other, you kind of make sure that like everyone's good, right? Like for example, UD, right? He has a social media team, he has a financial advisor / business manager. He has marketing people, he has a PR person, like he has everything around him that makes sure that like a lot of time, like that everything's handled correctly. And if you have that, like, well, there's so many players. Like you hear the story about Jason Tatum, he hasn't spent a dime of his salary. He only like spends money off of his partnerships. And you see his fits, like you see the stuff he buys.
How
you
is
see
that
where he
possible?
travels.
Is he making that much bread off of endorsements to be able to live like that? Like that's hectic.
I mean, bro, you got a Jordan deal, like what I'm saying. So a lot of the clothing and stuff taken care of, and like like for example, when I look at marketing partnerships, sometimes like I have these conversations with guys. Sometimes like you're not always going to get paid off a brand, but like if you can like get free product, like for example, like me and UD got a deal, like UD got a deal with Isopure, where I just got him, and like he's getting protein every month from this company, and it's like what I mean, like now you don't have to spend money on protein, you know what I mean, like now like we can start closing certain categories like water brands. You can just get water from your company, like what I'm saying, like there's little things where like strategically if you can do that, like get for like a lot of people, like a lot of these athletes, bro, like they get their stuff for free, you know what I mean, and like they may not have it all the time. They may not they may give it back or whatever. But it's like if you save money on certain things, like I bet you a lot of times things Jason Tatum wearing or doing, like he's doing it for free. You know what I'm saying? So like that other money, like and now you got a Jordan deal. He had the Doritos, like was it Doritos commercial? Like he has a bunch of different stuff that he's tapped into. Like yeah. And you see, like he did his lifestyle ain't changed. Like he still lives a great lifestyle, but it's off his endorsement money. You know what I'm saying? So But again, that like real quick, like that attests to the right people around him. You know what I'm saying? And that like that's really a big thing too.
Yeah, his mom. I've read that a lot. His mom handles all his finances. His mom not going for none of that.
No, I'm saying like, and it works in some instances. It doesn't work in certain instances. But like, like as long as you have the right people around you, and like for example, Ja. Like I've seen a lot about like the unfortunate stuff going on with Ja, and like some people are testing it to his father. I don't know if I agree with that or not, but like you know what I mean. Like I've seen situations where like it's a little murky. But I've also seen situations where like it works great with like Tatum and his mom. I know Harden's mom handles a lot of his stuff now. Like, what I'm saying? Like, so, there's like Burna Boy, for example, his mom's his manager, and that dude, one of the biggest artists in the world. So like, what I'm saying? So, it's crazy, but I mean, yes, it goes back to just having the right people around you.
Right. I feel like my mind, right? Because I'm not making the NBA bread. I feel like when I hear stuff like that, it's like, oh, you got a social media team, you got a PR team, you got a marketing team. It's like, dang, that stuff can get costly too, right? So I feel like, I mean, again, they making millions of dollars, so I feel like it's apples to oranges at the end of the day. But I feel like, can you speak to just the process of? Because I feel like, again, these players are athletes. but they're also a brand and a business. So all these other areas are necessary, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I guess from maybe, I guess, being around the social media team or the PR team, like just the dynamic of how all you guys can kind of coexist, contribute to UD, being able to do what he does?
Yeah, like I think, bro, like it's about like a lot of times it's ROI, and it's also like has to make sense for that specific person, right? Like for example, UD's so big in Miami, like he needs a social media team, like he needs a PR team, right? Like for example, like let me just use an example. Like if you, for example, you're paying a photographer or like you're paying a media guy to follow you around and run this podcast, and you're paying him say 100,000 a year, right? So that's his salary. Now you got to figure out a way to make up for that with what your business, right? So like say like for example, Adidas right behind you, you got the logo, your media guy, you're following around, and Adidas comes in and sponsors you. They pay you 250 or 200,000. Right there, your media guy's salary is paid for and then some. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the ROI. Like a lot of times, like for example, like Jimmy Butler, right? Like he has media guy that follow him around everywhere he goes, but that media like has turned into business, right? Like his clothes are getting posted, his Rolexes are getting posted, like everything he kind of does is getting posted to a point where like brands see it, and now brands are going to pay you after seeing what you do. Because like Jimmy's been really good, like of like for example, like Essential Water, like for a lot of times, like he's posting them, and now that he's got to deal with them. You know what I'm saying? And like that deal could have paid for his photographer. It could have paid for his social media team. It could have paid for his agent, right? Like so, it's kind of like an ROI thing that we look at. So as long as like it makes sense for that player, like if you're like a minimum like a vet minimum guy, like maybe you don't need, or like a rookie or like a two-way player, whatever, you may not need all that stuff. But like if you're at a point where like you can afford it, you know what I'm saying? Like it can only help. So.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that stuff, bro, is stressful. Like running your social media, that's a business. Like you got, like you really got. You've seen these TikTok people, like they quit their full-time jobs to run TikTok and they making money off of it. But it's like I asked them how long it takes them to make one video, and it's 4 to 6 hours. We work 8 hours a day. You feel me? Like what I'm saying? It's basically a full work day, right? Like
Thanks.
Like you kind of need that, right? And a lot of these guys that they post, like they're not posting their own stuff. A lot of times it's their social media team. They obviously it's in their voice, or like they, like it's coming from them. They're doing the final approvals, but like some people, you trying to just hoop. You trying to win a championship. You know what I'm saying? So
can't focus on that other stuff for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. What would you say has been the most important thing that you've learned, or I guess a light bulb that's clicked throughout your years in this business? I guess something that you didn't know before, right? If you had to say, one thing that as you kind of learned along the way, what would it be?
That's a good question, bro. Like I think it goes back to like it. Like I used to have that kind of like imposter syndrome where I'm like, damn, I'm like real young in this business. I see a lot of old heads in this business doing it for a minute, and it's like, nah, like it doesn't matter how old you are. Like you put in the work, like you can make stuff happen. Like, and like I've seen like a lot of different people. Like I see Trey. Like big shout out to Trey, right? Like he's, taking his career in his own hands. Like you see how it's worked out for him being Tyler's, media guy. Like, and I think with our new generation, like the hard work that's put in and just being a genuine person, like really good things have happened or like are going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know if that's like what you were the kind of the answer you were looking for, but that's kind of like in my head. I'm like, just be, as long as you're like humble, as long as you make sure, you're a genuine person, like, good things happen. Like you see what's happened with Trey recently, right? Shout out to Trey, like genuine person, a lot of connections, does his thing, like, decided to leave the Heat, obviously took his career in his own hands, and you see what he's doing now, right? So like, I've seen it with a lot of other people. So take a chance on yourself, do a lot of those things. I don't know if I answered your question, bro, but it's like the lessons along the way that I've kind of like picked up on my, home.
That's major. When you look at the work you've been able to do now, and like you said earlier, man, like still a long way to go, man, but you've been able to do some pretty dope stuff and see a lot of dope things and have a lot of dope experiences, man. How do you reflect on where you are now compared to, that kid that was in Singapore, just with a ball and a dream, man? Like, how do you reflect on how far you've come in the journey? Like, do you ever have time to think about that, man? And like, what goes through your head now in this moment, when you think about all that's transpired?
Bro, I'm big on self-reflection more than ever recently, bro. Just figuring out the next step in the career and just everything, right? Like I'm sitting here, like if you had told me even a year ago that I'd be doing the things that I'm doing now, I'm like, I thought you were fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like told the kid in Singapore all these things, and I've been like, no way. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a blessing. Like, there's so much more to do, so much more to go. But I'm like, if you told me 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, like certain things like that, I'd be at the finals doing like, doing certain things, or like being in the rooms or being around the people that I'm around, like I'd have thought you crazy. Like, like, and again, like it's never like a short way. Like I've never, even just living in DC, like I never thought I'd live in DC, bro. I always thought I'd live in New York. So just the fact that I'm even in DC and loving it, like that shit's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, like we talked about earlier. So it's like, I wouldn't believe you. I wouldn't believe you.
Yeah. So I gotta before we get to some quick hitters, man, just got a few more questions. I gotta ask you this, man, because as somebody who's close to UD, I feel like obviously you see the chatter on social media and everybody's kind of have, oh man, why is UD in the league still, man? Like he's 20 taking up a roster spot, blah, 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 blah. Like, right. Have you ever seen that get to him or affect him in any type of way? And second part to that question is like, what do you have to say, or can you explain to the people, I guess, the value? Because I feel like obviously us being hoopers, we don't have to, you understand the value of having locker room guys, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand the value of a guy like UD who, with the Heat, can anchor that culture, right? It can anchor the locker room and bring valuable experience, right? You see teams all the time in the NBA, like the Charlotte Hornets, disaster, no vets. The Houston Rockets with the whole Kevin Porter situation, disaster, no vets, like, right? And having a guy like a UD in these locker rooms can prevent a lot of that stuff from going on, man. I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of speak on that as somebody who knows him personally. I was always curious, man, like, is he seeing these things that people are saying? Like, how does that kind of affect him personally?
I mean, he sees it all. Y'all see him comment on the fucking story, sometimes he would just be sitting there like, yo, I would come at some people today. But I mean, to that, I say he don't give a fuck. Like, he really don't care. Like, he understand, like, when you're so good at your craft and you understand what you do and you understand the value you bring, you don't give a fuck what other people think, right? Like, same thing with you, like, or us, right? Like, I don't give a fuck what people think because I know what I'm doing, right? Like, so, like, like, to answer that question, he don't give a fuck. But, like, secondly, bro, like, I mean, you see it, bro. Like, for example, when Max Strus left the team, he did a dedicated post to Udonis Haslem. When he retired, like, you saw how many people dedicated posts to him. Like, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that people don't see that, like you just said it, the Hornets, bro, like, they need a vet. Like, shit that they're going through, the Grizzlies, like, they need a vet. Like, that's why they brought in D Rose. Like, that's such a strategic pickup. Like, they need a vet. Like, and like, Iguodala has been one of those vets in the league. Like, and like, for example, like, you heard about the story in the bubble, bro, where like LeBron's talking about ending it, like UD's like standing up, like the only one that would be down to stand up to LeBron James, and it's a respect thing, right? Like, so many players respect him. Like, everywhere we go around, like, people come up to him and be like, "What's up, bro?" Like, there's so much respect. You saw Pat Bev talk about him in his podcast. Like, I run up to UD and I get it, until. And when I say behind the scenes, bro, like, UD is literally like, when a rookie comes in, he's breaking bread with their family. Like, Jaime, when he came in, he talks to his father. Like, I'm talking Haywood Highsmith at his camp in Baltimore. UD got on a plane and flew up, and we drove up to the camp. You know what I mean? In Baltimore, like, he went out to Gabe's camp. He went out to Max's camp. Like, he goes out and like does these little things that like a lot of people don't see and understand that impact that it has on the team. And then when you see like Dwayne Dedmon throwing the thing, or like him and Jimmy getting in that scuffle, like, you see those things of like behind the scenes, him and Jimmy playing one-on-one before every game, and like he's helping Jimmy get better. Like, he's playing one-on-one with whoever wants to get in the gym. Like, he's doing so many things that people don't see, and like, his phone is always constantly blowing up with different players in the league and also just on his team of like, yo, can I come by and pick your brain? Like, can I come by and talk to you? Like, there's so much impact that happens that people just don't see. You know what I mean? Like, and thirdly, like, first of all, to the average fan, they don't understand that a veteran's minimum contract, once you're past a certain amount of time in the NBA, does not count against the salary cap. So really, he's not taken away from the salary cap. You know what I'm saying? And like, sure, you could sign another player, but it's like, you heard somebody who is it? Talking about Giannis got two of his brothers on his team. Like, well, y'all bad about Udonis Haslem on the team, but Giannis got two of his brothers on the team. Talking about they need more help. You know what I mean? Like, there's little things like that, bro. So like, I mean, to the average fan, I understand why they don't understand it, but like, to the people that really know basketball, understand that what leadership does, and like having a person that really fucking cares, that like is not someone wearing a suit telling you to run or run plays, like, who's really in the trenches with you doing what like you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy for like a coach to be like, run laps, but I'm here for you. Like, you're not running the laps with me, but UD's really doing that shit with him. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's he understands the value. The team understands value, and like, there's a reason why. Like, and I'm not like there's a reason why the team has made it to the finals and like done the things that they've done with what they've got. You know what I mean? Like, all these teams are loading up, and like, everybody counted on the Heat this year, but they still go find a way somehow, bro. That's the crazy thing about it. You know what I mean? Like, and last year too, like, they were down 4 or 5 against the Bulls and ended up winning. You know what I mean? Like, so like, there's a thing that goes behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. The real ones know, though. You know what I'm saying? The ones that know about the game, they know, man. For you, obviously being there when he played his last game in the finals, man, like what were those emotions like just kind of being there in that moment and then seeing what 20-something year career or 20 years, however long it was, come to an end, man. Just what did it mean to you to be able to kind of share that moment with him and kind of be there, for the last time he was walking off that floor?
I mean, it was special, bro. Like, I mean, and back to the other question you had, like y'all saw his last game, by the way, where he had 24 points, hit 2 or 3 threes. Like y'all saw that, like y'all like he caught a lob. You know what I mean? Like how do y'all? A lot of y'all can't even dunk. You know what I mean? Like if I cut a lob in an NBA game, like you know what I'm saying? So like the dude can still hoop, and like it's just special, bro. And especially like obviously, like unfortunately he lost his dad, last year, like like in the past year, and like something they always talked about is playing 20 years in the NBA, right? Like we talk about the question of like if you had asked me if I'd be doing the things that I'm doing like a couple years ago, I thought you're crazy. Like same thing with him, right? Like this dude was undrafted, like had to go to France to come to the NBA. Like 20 years of one team as an undrafted player, that's nuts. You know what I mean? Like, and like obviously it was sad, but it was like, yo, I've won rings, I've set records, like I've done everything I've had to do. So it was just special, bro. And like in my last year, like we thought the career was over against the Bulls in the playing game. And to make it to the finals and be able to end your career, yeah, like it would have been great to win a ring. But like to end your career at the finals, like, and you can't write that shit up, bro. Like you really can't. 24 points in your last game, you know what I mean? Like there's so many players like Paul Pierce got out, didn't score a single point in his last game ever. You know what I mean? So like Dwayne, like there's certain things that happen in life, bro. Like like Dwyane Wade to get his triple double had an assist to UD to hit the shot. Like UD had to hit the shot for Dwayne to get his like triple double in his last game ever. UD 24 points in the last game. Like there's certain things where you're just like you can't draw that shit up. You can't write that shit up. Like it's crazy. So, it's special, man. Like it was really special. And like obviously, like he's still around with the Heat in a different capacity, obviously, but like he's still around. Like he's still always Heat culture. So, but it was time for him. He was just like, yeah, I'm good. I've done 20 years. Iguodala, like I'm sitting here like, damn, you hit 19, you could have done 20, but everyone is like, it was time.
Sure.
I had the chance. David West is one of my mentors. I had the chance to see him retire. I think it was like 12 or 13 season in, and he's like, bro, I won a ring. I've done everything I needed to do. Like, I thought I'd give it 10 years. The fact that I even made it a couple years over, like, cool, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when you see it, like, we all know when we're ready to be done with something. It's like, all right, I did what I had to do. Straight.
Facts. So last question I have for you, man, before we get into a little bit of quick hitters, man, have a little bit of fun. I was like, say, just retired, you know what I'm saying? So you're still working with him, man, but what's next for Sunny, man? Like what's coming down the pipelines and things that I guess if you're transitioning to anything, I know we talked about at breakfast too, like low key, him being retired is so much more, that you can do now that he's not playing so much. But what's next for you on your journey, man? Do you see yourself kind of staying in this, manager role? Like, do you have, bigger dreams for I want to like, get into the front office or whatever that may look like for you?
Yeah.
Like, what's next for you in this whole journey?
Yeah, for sure, bro. And on the UD front, like, it's funny, bro. I had the privilege of being around for, when Dwade retired, especially with the Wade tour. And like, they told him when you retire, like, your life's going to be busier than it was when you're playing. And like, lo and behold, here we are. And like, this summer's been crazy just off the fact that, like, you're not planning your life around NBA season. The schedule's open. So, like, on a brand perspective, like, whatever else perspective, like, there's so much more that you can do. And you have more free time that you're not like, oh, I got to train for an NBA season, or like, I got games this time, I got to play in this time. So there's so much more. So like, bro, like the world, like there's so many things that we're about to grow and build on. Like, obviously you saw the highlight stuff that he did, he's a part owner in, like Pitbull just joined that, league as well. Like, like there's so many more things that we got in the works. Like that's about to be crazy that it's like, we're excited, honestly. Like there's so much more time, so much more ability. We go to China more than once now if we wanted to. And like, there's certain things, what I'm saying, like we about to work on. And then for me personally, like, my dream has always been to like start my own agency or, like, and, build with more guys. So, I've had opportunities. I've started working with a couple more guys and, just building on that, bro. Like, I think at some point, like, and you'll see, like, I've been working on the logo. I've been working on, like the name and everything and, start my own LLC, own agency, at some point, just getting that off the ground and just building, what I'm saying? Like, that's really my goal, working with some guys that I have some really good relationships with, just building there and hopefully, see where that goes. What I'm saying? Like I'm enjoying it. I've been blessed, like putting on connections, get some more deals done. Just like keep saying it, but it's built.
Sir, I love it. Man, we got a couple quick hitters for you, man. I'm gonna get you on out the door, man. So we got two segments. We're gonna do a this or that segment, and then we're gonna finish it out with a draft. We're gonna do a little draft, man. So
I bet.
For this or that, I just want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right, I'm gonna need with these couple questions. All right, so first one: do you prefer All-Star Weekend or Summer League when it comes to vibes, off the court vibes?
Ooh. Ooh. That's tough, bro, because they both lit. Could I say both? Because they both lit.
You gotta pick one, man. You gotta pick one.
All-Star Weekend. All-Star Weekend. And I say that because Dwade has a spades tournament. That shit fun as hell.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because I've asked this question multiple times and everybody always says Summer League. And I'd be like, bro, what? Like, that must not be doing All-Star Weekend right, bro. Because
All-Star Weekend, all the brands have their events. Like, it's a good time. I'll say All-Star Weekend. All-Star
okay,
Weekend.
bet. Favorite brunch spot in DC?
Ooh. Oh, trying to think. I mean, Delania is my favorite restaurant in DC. They have a really good brunch. It's a little more on the expensive.
I've been meaning to go there, bro. I didn't know they had brunch. That's the Mexican spot, right?
Yeah, bro. It's like a bougie brunch too. It's shit fire.
Damn.
It's smooth. It's smooth.
Say less. That's on the list. Say less. We gotta hit that joint next time. No cap. Cap.
And you know the coupe. We had the coupe. Oh, reliable.
Back. Yeah, that was good eat though. That was great eat.
Reliable.
Okay. So next question is, give me your top 3 NBA cities.
Miami number 1. I'll go LA number 2, and then probably New York number 3.
Now, why is Miami number 1 over LA and New York? So I feel like those are the consensus top 3. So can you explain why is Miami 1 over LA and New York? Because
I just bro, the arena and the music they play in Miami, just the vibe, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the fans, like, obviously, like, you know, Miami's known to not have the best fans sometimes, but like when they're there, bro, it's rocking in there. Like, they really care. Like, when the weather's great, like, you walking out, no matter what time of year it is and it's warm, you can walk in there with shorts and a t-shirt, you know what I'm saying? And like the music they play, they got a dope DJ, which is a good vibe, bro. LA, I mean, it's funny, bro, because it's like when you go, I can't wait to see that new Clippers arena. I've been hearing a lot about, you know, I've seen on interviews, but you go to a Clippers game, it's like, yeah, it is what it is, right? Like, respectfully, you go to a Lakers game and you're like, this is, and I like, you know, growing up, I was a Kobe fan. I grew up, you know, living in Singapore. I grew up a Lakers fan, so that's always been close to my heart. So like just that, you know, just the Staples Center as a whole. I mean, I think it's crypto.com arena now.
Yeah.
Still always got to be Staples Center to us. But, you know, it's the atmosphere just being around, it's the history that's in that arena is dope. And then New York, like, you know how them New York fans go, bro. Like, it's just, them fans are nuts. It's a great time, real bad. Win or lose, they go crazy. So it don't even matter.
Facts.
And the Garden, bro. Something special about the Garden. I will say I like the Brooklyn Nets arena a little bit more than the Garden.
Really?
But it's just, I'm a big fan, bro, of these arenas that, like, for example, the Kings got a really nice new arena. If you've never been to Sacramento, it's like
I have. Go to One Center. I was just out there in
bro.
April. I was just out there. It's nice.
And the cool thing about it is no matter where you're sitting, you still feel like you're close enough to the game. Like, you could sit in a nosebleed and you're still part of it. Like, you're close enough where, like, you can enjoy it. Like in the Garden, you sit up there, like, you might as well be at home watching it on TV. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you just, at that point, you're just there to say you're in the Garden. Like,
right.
Like, it's just so, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's inexpensive. So,
and they could open the little window in the joint.
Yeah.
That joint is nice.
And the Brooklyn Nets arena had these growing up in high school, they had these seats, all you can eat seats. You sat there and like a ticket got you all the food in the arena. So me and my boys, we used to go, like, we used to compete, like who could, like, we used to like calculate how much the money was, like how much the food items cost. We used to see like who could spend the most money in food off of that free ticket. But motherfuckers are getting to like $600-700 in like by halftime in food.
That's hectic. Yeah. Okay.
I have good memories in that stadium too, bro.
Damn, no, that's love. All right. I respect it. All right, so last thing, we're gonna get into this draft, man. I feel like being you know, at DC is the brunch capital of the world, man. We're gonna draft our top 3 each. Favorite brunch items. Food to order at brunch. All right. So since you're the guest, you get the first pick, man. Number 1 pick, man. What's your favorite brunch food to order?
Chicken and waffles. But if I see it on the menu, I'm getting it.
Solid. All right. I think my first, that was a good one. I ain't gonna lie. I was looking, you gonna say that. I think my first pick for brunch items, I'm going shrimp and grits, man. If you can get some good shrimp and grits, that's very elite.
Oh,
Very, very elite.
For
And
sure.
we had it at the restaurant. We had the spot. Bust,
bro. And there's a couple spots with some oxtail and grits for brunch. That shit go crazy, bro.
Oxtail and grits is OC.
For brunch, I be good.
Okay, bet. Second pick. What's your number 2 pick?
Ooh, bacon. Gotta have some good bacon.
Keep it simple.
Gotta have some good bacon.
Okay. My second pick, I'm going to the jerk wings at Park at 14th, man. If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. There's buzz. Third pick. What's your third pick, man?
Mimosa/coffee.
Hey, you know I definitely go to the mimosa number 3.
You gotta have, yeah.
Bro, side note, did you know that? And this is we spoiled in DC, bro, because most spots in DC have bottomless mimosas for the most part.
Yeah.
If you go to like Dallas or like other places, they don't have it's like outlawed. You can't.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like Boston, they don't do bottomless. Like I'm sitting here like, yeah, like certain places do, but like a lot of places do, but it's dumb expensive too. Like here, bro, like $35, you can get unlimited food and drinks. And I'm sitting there like, yo,
it's unreal. I didn't and this is why I'm like, yo, yeah, DC is really like it's different because you cannot do that everywhere. No cap.
Like New York has it, but like it's either really expensive or it's hard to get into.
Yeah, bro.
Every freaking spot has it, bro.
yeah, man. Second to none, man. All right, so look, my last pick for the brunch eats, man. Gotta go to good French toast, man. You can't go wrong with good French toast.
Yep.
Great vibes.
Yep.
Definitely got a good list going, man. We definitely got a good list going, man. But I know you're a busy man, so I won't take too much of your time. The last question we always ask all our guests is, who is somebody we should have on the What's in Your Bag podcast? And whatever you say, you got to get in your PG bag, like the Dwade to Bron, you know what I'm saying, legendary Heat alley-oop flick, man, to give us the assist.
Ooh, there's a lot of people, bro. A lot of people. I think about this one. So obviously you got Trey. Trey was dope. You know what? My boy Zach West. You gotta get my boy Zach West. Works at Rock Nation, has a dope story. He handles the basketball partnerships and marketing for Rock Nation. Gotta get him on. And it's crazy because me and Zach had a podcast together for a minute. We still have it around. It's just, kudos to you, bro, because running a podcast is hard work, bro. It's
hard.
A lot of editing, a lot of hard work. You gotta keep up with it, but gotta get my boy Zach West on. Zach, get your ass on his podcast.
Say less. Hey Zach, man, if you listen to this, man, I'm gonna be in your DMs real soon, man. We're gonna connect, man.
I'll put y'all in touch, bro. I'll put y'all in touch. Easy.
Say less. Appreciate you, bro, man. But this has been a great conversation, man. I just want to say I always like to give flowers, man. I feel like you're somebody, man, who I definitely appreciate, man. I don't take it for granted because a lot of folks, man, that's, as you know, man, this industry, man, is super time consuming. You're always busy on the run, man. And, you always kept in touch. And, I'm glad that we actually got this done and got to, man. And, you know what I'm saying? I really appreciate you for taking out the time and doing that, man. Like, I'm grateful we were able to kind of link up and stuff for it, man, because now it's like definitely we're able to form that genuine bond, man. You don't really meet genuine people in this space, man. A lot of people are super transactional. It's like, oh, well, what can you do for me, man? And, being able to chop it up with you in person, man, and have this conversation now, man. I'm definitely super appreciative, man. And it's always, like I said, man, super proud of just your journey, man, and where you've been able to take it. I know you got a lot more to go, man. So, I'll be tuned in always, man. We're definitely locked in, man. And I'll be seeing you soon for sure.
Hell yeah, bro. It's all love. I appreciate you having me. And yeah, I'm glad we got to link up. I'm glad y'all came out that night too. We had a good time.
Great time.
Any more to come, bro. And I appreciate it. It's all love, bro. Appreciate you having me.
No doubt, guys. All right, man. Listen, guys, if you're still tuned in, man, if you had not subscribed, man, go ahead and stop what you're doing. Tap that subscribe button, man. Give us a 5-star rating if you're tuned in on Apple Podcasts, man. It goes a long, long way. This has been another episode of the What's in Your Bag podcast presented by Bet Online. It's going to be my guy, Pull Up Tay, on the outro. Until next time, folks. Peace.
Love.
Suave. I've been in my bag for a while, I'm invincible. Story of a young boss, grinding shit get critical. Calling on my bros one time, cause you special. I had some hoop dreams and right rounds for my mentor. Every target that I shoot is on point like a pencil. Different route, change relationships, I'm so sorry. Came up from the trenches and I made it, I say hardly. Now